Okay, I think I got everything set. So hold on a second. There we go. My computer's also moving super slowly. So let me try to get this chapter set up. This was kind of an unexpected doozy for me, Isaiah 5 and 6. I read through 5 just this morning. 6 is pretty well known, but I just want to touch on things there. But it is interesting. So I also have some pictures, whether they're helpful or not, I don't know. And of course I had to put in some Chicago pictures to reference, but I have some Jerusalem pictures also focusing on the pre-reset and post-reset mindset, okay, of kind of mud flood mystery history. But like I always say, I'm no expert. I'm just saying I'm trying to look at things through new eyes, understanding more. So let's go. Isaiah 5, and I'm reading, oh, this says New International. Didn't change it. I do the NASB, NASB. Let's see if I can get my computer to move. There we go. Whoop. Bear with me. Hold on one second. Forgive me if I'm talking a little quieter. I know audio is always tricky. My husband's upstairs working, so I don't want to disturb him. Of course my computer would be slow today because I want to share with you. Get behind us, Satan. Okay. All right. Ta-da! Let's switch over. Ta-da! Okay. If it gets too crazy with the computer going slowly, I will just read from my Names of Yahuwah Bible. And then you can follow along wherever you like. And I might just, this is so slow. Let me just give maybe a background picture and then we can read together from our Bibles, okay? This is actually, I'm going backwards from the pictures I found. So this is supposedly Mount Zion, okay? Whoop, made that too big, but now it's gonna probably, okay, so let's just mull over in our minds as we look at this and read. So I'm gonna read, like I said, from Isaiah 5 and 6 from my own Bible, because the screen is super lagging. Okay. This is titled The Song About the Vineyard. And the vineyard is, it will describe in a minute, is Jerusalem. Okay. So we should probably reference when Yeshua or Yahusha or Jesus, whatever you'd like to be convicted to call him, I'd say Yahusha or Yeshua is best. So I'll probably say Yeshua. He had many parables about vineyards and that he was the master of the vineyard. So this goes along with that. I'm probably not going to look that up today, but on here, but maybe I will if you don't mind. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, 5 verse 1. Let me sing a love song to my beloved about his vineyard. Now I don't know who's talking here. Do you? My beloved had a vineyard on a fertile hill. He dug it up, removed its stones, planted it with the choicest vines, built a watchtower in it, and made a wine press in it. And I highlighted in my Bible watchtower because what would we imagine a watchtower looking like? Something like this. something like, let me see if I can pull up my picture. Da da da. That's Chicago. You know, we don't know. I even had a picture of the clock tower in Chicago that's still standing. It's now the Tribune building. Anyways, I've been past it. Okay, so this vineyard, let's just stop here. So I'm going to comment on this. This vineyard is near perfect with how he prepared it. So completely, the soil is graded, the stones and any hindrances are taken out for good planting. He used the choicest vines, so, wholly organic, seeds and vines, and made a wine press ready to have it produce much fruit. Then he waited, this is verse 2 still, I didn't get very far. Then he waited for it to produce good grapes, but it produced only sour, wild grapes. Now this is interesting, here's another side note. So they're sour, but wild grapes aren't necessarily bad, right? And in today's world, where how we think, how everything's so genetically modified, if we picked wild grapes, maybe some would be sour, but the wild grapes I've had, which was like once or twice, were super sweet. And so anyways, but this is just a parallel, but I'm just commenting. Verse 3, now then, you inhabitants of Jerusalem and Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could have been done for my vineyard than what I have already done for it? When I waited for it to produce good grapes, why did it produce only sour, wild grapes? Now on the flip side, when you plant things and you make sure everything's great, some things don't come up the way you thought. Recently I've been trying to grow a little more, or prepping for growing more in the future, and that's just how gardening goes. Just a lot of things die at first and don't do well. Verse 5, now then, let me tell you what I will do to my vineyard. I will tear away its hedge so that it can be devoured, and tear down its wall so that it can be trampled. I will make it a wasteland. It will never be pruned or hoed. Thorns and weeds will grow in it, and I will command the clouds not to rain on it. So I had a little side note here that we see a lot of wastelands in our realm today, and desolation, where once probably was fertile. It just makes sense, places that have large bodies of water, lakes or rivers, but instead there's wasteland around it. I'm thinking for the West, Utah. I'm thinking out in the deserts of Saudi Arabia. There are parts of it that have looked like they once were lush, but now are wastelands. And it's interesting here. It said, I will command the clouds not to rain on it. But yet today we have so many different people or entities controlling our weather now. I do often wonder how much of the weather Yahuwah has allowed them to take over. But yet we know that he still has his angels in charge of the weather. I just think it's a larger spiritual battle than we think about. So that's just a side note too. All right, verse 7. The vineyard of Yahuwah Sabaoth is the nation of Israel, and the people of Judah are the garden of his delight. He hoped for justice, but saw only slaughter, for righteousness, but heard only cries of distress. So that's the main theme in Isaiah is justice and righteousness. Yahuwah is seeking to bring justice to the nations and righteousness and authority on Mount Zion, but he sees destruction and death and cries of distress. Okay, so verse 8 starts another topic, 6 sins condemned. How horrible it will be for you who acquire house after house and buy field after field until there's nothing left, and you have to live by yourself in the land. So I think, I don't know, do we see the mud floods like that today? The huge remnants of buying house after house. So we could go at this two ways, I think. Meaning wealth, and they built up either in the past. I'm still going to keep open about the millennial kingdom. It's just still on the table for me that way. Okay, so was this from referencing verse 8, house after house, field after field, nothing left, and you have to live by yourself in the land. Okay, so like I said, this is Chicago. I'm just giving I'm not pointing any geographic reference. I'm just pointing reference to large buildings. Coming up here, you'll see. All right, verse 9. With my own ears I heard Yahweh Sabaoth. Remember, that's the Lord of the hosts of angels in English, but we're not going to say Lord. It's Yahuwah, who is over the hosts of angels, going to battle. So when that name is used, it's meaning he's doing something among the armies of angels. I think that's true. That's how I understand it, at least. Okay. So with my own ears, I heard Yahweh or Yahuwah Sabaoth say, many houses will become empty. Large, beautiful houses will be without people to live in them. So I did put a note here, once fertile, was this the reset? We think our recent one, 1820, 1850, anywhere in between there. The inheritors came in. These were not made for these. They did not possibly make all of these. Some of them they did. I'm just keeping an open mind, but it seems, why does this seem more common sense? Like, why does this seem to make sense? According to Isaiah. Okay. A 10-acre vineyard will produce only 6 gallons of wine. So desolate now once was fertile. 10 acres equals 6 gallons. So we see the desolation of the land. It's like he said, it's a wasteland. There's not much we can get from what Yahuwah initially intended for us to get from it. What he would have given. 2 quarts of seed will produce only 4 quarts of grain, so only doubled. It's not like it would be spread. How horrible it will be for those who get up early to look for a drink, who sit up late until they get drunk from wine. At their feasts, there are lyres and harps, tambourines and flutes and wine, yet they don't pay attention to what Yahuwah is doing or see what his hands have done. Verse 13, my people will go into exile because they don't understand what I'm doing. Honored men will starve, and common people will be parched with thirst. That is why the grave's appetite increases, so many deaths. It opens its mouth very wide, so that honored people and common people will go down into it. Those who are noisy and joyous will go down into it. People will be brought down, everyone will be humbled. And the eyes of arrogant people will be humbled. Yahuwah Sabaoth will be honored when he judges. So again, another judgment, if that's what the reset was. So his intentions were for this vineyard to be great, and he had to start over the reset. Am I thinking right here? Am I going off track? You let me know. Verse 16, the holy El will show himself to be holy when he does what is right. Then lambs will graze as if they were in their own pasture, and foreigners will eat among the ruins of the rich. That was an interesting verse too. Foreigners. So these people, maybe this isn't the greatest picture. This is in Jerusalem in the 1800s. That's why I'm posting it. Okay? These were not the original dwellers of these places. Ruins of the rich. How horrible it will be for those who string people along with lies and empty promises whose lives are sinful. Verse 19, they say, let Yahuwah hurry and quickly do his work so that we may see what he has in mind. Let the plan of Kodesh Yisrael happen quickly so that we may understand what he is doing. How horrible it will be for those who call evil good and good evil, who turn darkness into light and light into darkness, who turn what is bitter into something sweet and what is sweet into something bitter. How horrible it will be for those who think they are wise and consider themselves to be clever. How horrible it will be those who are heroes at drinking wine, who are champions at mixing drinks, who declare the guilty innocent for a bribe, who take away the rights of righteous people. And for verse 20 through 23, that reminded me a lot of how we as a society are today and how they, whoever they are ruling us, taking away rights. People just want to do what they want to do, and it just brings destruction. But like I said, in my mind, I feel like I'm jumping around a lot in the timeline. And some people, like I said, and I think in the intro to the videos, that Isaiah supposedly is all of history, all of the Bible in one book, into chunks. But I feel like in my mind, as I read it, it's going back and forth from the past to the future, to the present of our present, which is the future of these who was intended for in Isaiah, Jerusalem and Judah and the remnant. So I'm feeling like it's all over the place in the timeline. I don't feel like it's very succinct, and I have to always remember, and I would encourage you to also, timelines are not straight like rulers. Time itself is not like that. Whatever time is or is not, it's not a starting point and an ending point. I think there are points of starting and ending in time, but I do think there's a lot of loops, and it might be cyclical. I tend to think it is very cyclical. So that's kind of why maybe it seems this way in Isaiah, that we don't just have past, present, future. We don't just have the biblical timeline and then, our present day, 2022 or whatever year it really is, and then the future that hasn't happened yet. You know what I'm saying? So that's where my mindset is. You share whatever you want and what your mindset is. Let's keep going. Verse 24, chapter 5. As flames burn up straw and dry grass shrivels in flames, so their roots will rot and their blossoms will be blown away like dust. They have rejected the teachings of Yahuwah Sabaoth, and here I put Torah, and have despised the word of Kodesh Yisrael. That's why the anger of Yahuwah burns hot against his people, and he is ready to use his power to strike them down. The hills tremble, and the dead bodies lie like garbage in the streets. There is indications that did happen in the past. Here's a picture I didn't show you. So, interestingly enough, I typed in Jerusalem in 1850, and this painting that was made in 1850, I guess, shows the destruction of Jerusalem, which is interesting because there's another tie-in with 1850 and the destruction of Jerusalem. But supposedly just this painting itself was painted then, so I don't know. But take a look at it if you want while I keep reading. What is that? I don't know. It doesn't look like fire. Excuse me while Okay, I'm just going to leave it because my computer's going to go berserk on me. Let's keep reading. I'm on verse 25. Still, I'll get through it. Even after all this, his anger has not disappeared, and he is still ready to use his power. So we might think he's judged completely, but not quite. Yahuwah raises up a flag for the nations far away. So something to see, to be able to come. With a whistle, he signals those at the ends of the earth. Look, they are coming very quickly. None of them grow tired or stumble. None of them slumber or sleep. The belts on their waists aren't loosed. Excuse me, that's a tongue twister. The belts on their waists aren't loose, or their sandal straps broken. Their arrows are sharpened. All their bows are ready to shoot. Their horses' hooves are as hard as flint. Their chariot wheels are as quick as the wind. Their roar like a lioness. Their growl like a young lion. They growl as they snatch their prey and carry it off to where no one can rescue it. On that day they will roar over their prey as the sea roars. If they look at the land, they will see only darkness and distress. Even the light will be darkened by thick clouds. So at this point, Yahuwah is calling all who will fight. You know, that old song, Who is on the Lord's Side? I kind of thought of that. But again, this could reference some technology they had in the past, which we know they had better, more efficient, more sufficient, more in-tune technology to our realm than we have now. So that's where I also wrote a note about the chariot wheels being quick as wind. We're not seeing the same thing that they're giving us in the mainstream history of what they really had. But there's never been any, and this gets me every time, there's never any sort of evolution. There's only a devolving of things. So even in the church, they will teach about the Stone Age and the Iron Age and the Bronze Age, even though it goes against what the Bible says. And it always gets under my skin because there's only devolving now. Technology started off perfectly in perfection, and from the human body to what resources they used. It's not like that anymore. It's always devolving, degenerating, or taken away, or hidden, or destroyed. So that was chapter 5. That's where we are now. Even the light will be darkened by thick clouds. So nothing will be as it should be at this time of judgment. But Yahuwah has his army. Now, do we know who was a part of this army? Was it supernatural beings? Was it people, mankind? Was it both? I'm not sure. And if you wanted to ask, or this thought came to my mind, why aren't you reading any commentaries, Andrea? Well, sometimes I do, but I really just want to do this with fresh eyes and with the Holy Spirit helping, because commentaries are doctrine and man-made doctrine driven, men's thought patterns rather than what really is. So I won't go too much on what commentaries say. I didn't plan on using commentaries for this reading. Anyway, so let's go to chapter 6 before we make this into an hour, which I assume is not what anybody wants. And I love this chapter, and I'll just comment a little bit. Okay. In the year King Uzziah died, I saw Adonai sitting on a high and lofty throne. The bottom of his robe filled the temple. And I just realized these past couple years when I read Revelation, there is a temple, a tabernacle in use in heaven. It's eternal. It always has been. And that kind of solidified for me at least, and you look for it yourself, why Torah is eternal and why the feasts that Yahuwah has set up in the Bible for us to follow are eternal. They are not done away with, and that's where I get it from. The temple is a working temple in the heavenlies. The angels attend to what is going on and the duties of the temple in the heavenlies, the worship of the Most High. And also that's why our realm is set up the way it is with the stars and the seasons according to the connection between heaven and earth. Even while there is evil in this world for a short time, those things should still be parallel. And that's why also evil wants to detract and take away from that, because then you would truly see true worship of Yahuwah. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Let's keep going. Angels were standing above him. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces, with 2 they covered their feet, and with 2 they flew. They called to each other and said, Holy, holy, holy is Yahuwah Sabaoth. The whole earth is filled with his glory. Their voices shook the foundations of the doorposts, and the temple filled with smoke, the heavenly temple. So I said, Oh no, I'm doomed. Every word that passes through my lips is sinful. I live among people with sinful lips. I have seen the Melech Yahuwah Sabaoth. Then one of the angels flew to me. In his hand was a burning coal that he had taken from the altar with tongs. He touched my mouth with it and said, This has touched your lips. Your guilt has been taken away, and your sin has been forgiven. And I heard the voice of Adonai saying, Whom will I send? Who will go for us? Us. I said, Here I am, send me. And he said, Go and tell these people, no matter how closely you listen, you'll never understand. So let's go back to verse 1. It's interesting that he said, in the year King Uzziah died. He didn't give us the date. And with the mixed up timeline, we can't really know for sure when that is. And I was going to say also, he never said this was a vision. He saw Adonai. So it wasn't just a vision, was he lifted up into the spiritual realm, into heaven? Because he realized when he got there, in my estimation, he realized when he got there, he was earthly. And to be in the heavenlies, you can't have blemishes of the fallen earth until the angel came with the tongs and the coal. I'm in verse 9, and he said, Go and tell these people, no matter how closely you listen, you'll never understand. No matter how closely you look, you'll never see. Make these people close-minded. Plug their ears, shut their eyes. Otherwise they may see with their eyes, hear with their ears, and understand with their minds, and return and be healed. I asked, How long, O Adonai? And he replied, Until the cities lie in ruins with no one living in them, the houses have no people. And the land is completely desolate. You could, just because I'm in the United States, that's what I'm referring to, like Utah. Desolate, ruins. Completely desolate. Even today, it's not completely desolate. People live in Utah, am I correct? People live in Saudi Arabia, correct? Yahuwah will send his people far away, and a large area in the middle of the land will be abandoned. Okay, a large area in the middle of the land. I'm not sure where that refers to. Even if 1 out of 10 people is left in it, the land will be burned again. How many times have we seen pictures and descriptions of our realm being burnt? When a sacred oak or an oak is cut down, a stump is left. The holy seed will be the land's stump. That's chapter 6. So all of a sudden, chapter 6 is in the present, and we're with Isaiah in the heavenlies, or in heaven itself, in the temple, where Adonai, Yahuwah Sabaoth, is present. That's again why he felt doomed because he knew he was not of perfection in heaven. But let's read that again. I like verse 10 because it's a good parallel to why things are the way they are. And we can also have that kind of heart. We don't want to. So he said, send me. And Yah told him, go and tell these people, no matter how closely you listen, you'll never understand. No matter how closely you look, you'll never see. Make these people close-minded. Plug their ears, shut their eyes. Otherwise, they may see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their minds, and return and be healed. Okay, so that's all I have for today. And comment, and I guess I should say like, subscribe, and share. But thanks for joining me. Blessings.